Just want to go ahead and welcome everyone that's here for our live stream that's focusing on validating feature ideas earlier with AI-driven prototypes. My name is Adam Murray. I am lead product manager here at Builder.io, and I want to talk to you about a few things today. We're going to cover some bottlenecks that PMs face and the way that the process currently is, where we go back and forth, how Visual IDEs and how this world of kind of vibe coding and prompting and LLMs really empower PMs to actually create prototypes themselves. There are definitely some drawbacks to that, and we'll talk about those too, but there's a lot more positives in this new world and how they help us to iterate faster, get feedback faster, and really solve customer problems a lot faster. Why these real prototypes actually yield better signals and actually help that feedback loop, having a tighter feedback loop. If you've been in development, you've done the developer thing, that tight feedback loop is incredibly valuable. And now as PMs, we have the same ability to get that tight feedback loop and make better products for our users. And then how bringing these prototypes into sprint planning changes the dynamic of your team. It's not just into the sprint planning, I would say really across the org. And so we'll talk about that right now. So thanks for joining us again, and let's go. Today's reality, the PM, you start with an idea, you have a doc, whether that's a one-pager, whether that's a PRD, you've done the research, you go and you interview your customers, and you just take time. On the paper, that idea is flawless, right? It's buttoned up, you've got it, ready to go. Then what happens though, right? You have to hand it off. You hand it off to development, time goes by, a couple of sprints goes by, maybe longer, depending on if there's other priorities or things that come up. Then you're able to get some level of feedback, potentially with maybe one user or two users. You go back, you update that PRD, whether that's internally, just because you've gotten feedback from your internal stakeholders or other people, then you hand it back off to development. The one thing in this slide that's not represented is other stakeholders like design. Design also is in this. And so what is that over time, your original PRD, which is really, you felt really good about it. You felt really good about the flow. You felt really good about this thing, has taken a long time to really get into the hands of users. It's taken a while to actually be reality. So you've had it on paper, you've had it in low fidelity mock-ups, you've had it in all these things, but to get it really in a shippable condition to actual users, it can take a long time. For some people, depending on if you're at a startup that's moving really fast, where you could do it in a week or two. If you're at larger enterprises, you could be talking months, quarters, or longer to get some of these features in. This really means that user feedback comes too late. We start and we get the sprints going, and then next thing you know, the user feedback is either at the end or somewhere along the process. And by then, maybe you've built the wrong thing. And I know probably nobody on the call has ever built the wrong thing. I know I haven't. We had a story from our CEO, Steve, about how he actually worked on a product for a long time, worked in Builder for a long time. And as he was working on Builder, he had all these ideas. And a month down the road, he met with somebody and they're like, oh yeah, but what about this? And he was like, oh, I didn't think about that. That happens all the time. And so what we want to do is we want to really get that feedback earlier in the process, get that feedback at a place where we can adjust and we can move and we can change our course if we need to. Another problem that we have in the current workflow is that users test using low fidelity mockups. You can test all you want to in Figma and test all you want to in Miro and those other tools that you have. There's a lot of tools at the PM's disposal, but at the end of the day, those are not high fidelity mockups that are actually your real product. They're users using your real thing. They can look like it, they can go through it and they do a good job. So I'm not bashing anything, but many people are often using low fidelity mockups. I've been in tech a long time. I remember when we were doing human-centered design. I don't know if anyone ever did human-centered design, but we would actually bring users into the office and we would walk over with these big whiteboard, like paper, I don't know what they are, but they're big pieces of paper. And you'd have your mockup just like this prototype on it. And you'd walk through with users and you talk to them, okay, what are you going to do here? What would you click on here? And why would you do that? And it was such a weird thing that we did, but we're always trying to get real user feedback. We were always trying to actually involve real people in these kinds of things. And what's great now with this new world of prototyping is you can involve real users in your real product using it as it appears. So you can tell the difference between this prototype and this product is wildly different. Fonts are different, colors are different, charts are different. All of that really has an effect on end users and their perceptions. So like, why don't we test with high fidelity mockups? Another problem is tools are really scattered all over the place. Today, not just as a PM, but as anybody that's involved in tech, you have so many tools at your disposal. Tools for prototyping, tools for doing mockups, tools for design, tools for getting user feedback, tools for processing user data that comes in. And then at the end of the day, your app itself and the product that you're working on. This requires a lot of context switching. It requires a lot of extra time because it requires you and I to learn all these other tools. It requires us to be sometimes experts in products that we don't develop these products. So you might be the Notion expert at your job. You might be the Figma expert at your job, and that's okay. That's great. But I would love to spend more of my time being the builder expert. I would love to spend more of my time being the expert at the thing that I get paid to do, which for some of us, we don't get paid to know 27 different products. So tools are scattered all over the place. It creates a problem. So again, going back and forth or back to what we were talking about, what we're really trying to do is to get away from this world of where a PM has a doc, they work on this doc, they research the doc, they hand it off to design and development. And then eventually somewhere along the way, you get feedback, whether that's internally, whether that's externally, and then you ship something. Feedback comes way too late in that process. You've done a lot of work. You've wasted a lot of time. We're often working with smaller teams now. We're often working with less resources. And so what we want to do is we want to have more efficient process. And that more efficient process comes, one, when the product team involves a designer and developer from the very beginning, where we work together. And in doing that, we're able to actually use or prototype in our actual product, get user feedback very instantly almost, and then iterate on it back and forth over and over again. And then eventually what we do is we ship a product that actually solves real customer problems, that does it in a simple way, right? Who knows how complicated something got from that beginning handoff that we made all the way to when it goes through this process and when it ships. Sometimes things get very complicated in that process, and what we end up with is a lot of technical debt. We end up with a lot of debt that means in the future, I might want to develop a product or I might want to develop a feature that I can't because this process went a sideways direction that I didn't know it was going to go. And so if I have my hands a lot more in the process and I'm able to get a lot earlier in that process and shepherd it and curate it a little bit better, I'm able to maybe avoid that, not always, but maybe. And then we're also able to validate really quickly that we actually solved the real problem. Again, sometimes when it goes this far, either the user forgot about the problem, they may have decided it wasn't really such a bad problem. I've got another one, or here's 6 other problems that I now have. If you can ship the solutions faster and validate that it actually is a problem, that's just better for everybody, right? Us and our customers. So what's really cool, and this is where I want to talk about Builders Fusion today. What's really cool is that PMs can build prototypes of prompts now. A lot of you have been hearing about this. That's why you're here. Maybe you've been using other tools. And I don't want to just, Fusion is one option. There's other options out there. Personally, this is where I work. This is what I do. So I'm very familiar with Fusion. And so I want to show you how we can actually use what Builder has to help you achieve what I was just talking about, which is, again, faster feedback loops, rapid iterations, and actually solving user problems for real. A couple of use cases I want to talk about today are, one, actual like interactive user flows. So this would be walking through not just a small fix, not just a small little feature, but actually like the user does this at this spot, they do this at this spot, and they do this at this spot. So you can actually create these with prompts. You can create these from your PRDs. I'm going to show you some examples today. All the examples we have, I've got a repo that I'm going to share with you, and then we can share prompts at the end if you'd like those. But you can use your own PRDs for this. They don't have to be super detailed. So there might be people out there that write 10-page long PRDs. That's fine. I don't necessarily recommend feeding that to an LLM. You might not be able to, it might break on the context, but there are good ways to curate your PRDs and actually develop them for LLMs. And actually you can do that using LLMs. So we'll talk about that as we get into it. And then the second use case would be making quick fixes and UX improvements. I'm going to show a couple of examples in this demo app that I have of things that our users may or may not have told us. You might have issues like this, just little points of friction. They might be small enough where literally you have so many other priorities, you have not gotten to that thing. Maybe your users didn't even tell you just because it was one of those things like we just deal with it whenever we use this product. Those are things that this new world actually helps us solve very quickly. They actually help us take things out of our backlog that may have been living there for a long time. And actually we fix them. And not just us. Today, one of our customer success engineers actually fixed a problem that had been sitting on our backlog for a long time. And it's really cool what this new world opens up to our organizations as a whole. So now I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna talk to you about a product that I worked on here. I created a demo. I'll also talk about some real use cases at Builder. I do use Fusion to build Builder, but it's harder to show that to you because it takes a long time. In light of that, I'm gonna open up a demo project that I created. This is Builder's Fusion. So when you log into Builder and you create a Fusion space, This is kind of for the first time when you get into it. You can create new projects if you want to connect a repo. This is really one of the coolest things about Fusion, and really how it does what it does. It actually, you connect it to your actual repo. So it's working in your actual code base. So if you have a design system that's already implemented, if you have packages and things that that are already implemented, you don't have to think through all that. Builder is able to look at that and look at the code base itself and use those things. So you're going to get high fidelity mockups because they're going to look like your brand. They're going to look like the things that you have been building, and they're going to match your URL structures, your routes. They're going to match all that, and you don't have to think about it. That's the thing. There are PMs at all different stages of the technical expertise. You don't have to be incredibly technical to get this. If you are technical, I'll show you. You can dive into it a little bit more. But the good thing that all you need to know is once your repo is connected, you just get to prompt. You just get to ask it questions, and it gets to build just like you would expect it to. So this is my sample app here. You can see I already have a couple of branches. One of the really cool things is if I have a new feature or have something I wanted to fix on it, I can create a new branch. These branches are ephemeral. So meaning that I just wanted to go, I've got this idea for something and I want to go just vibe code on it for a little bit, right? You create a new branch. That branch is completely separate. It's not merged into the code base. It doesn't affect anything on the current production. And then you can share that with people. So let's go ahead and just let's create a new branch for this application. I created an app called Sushi Rush. Sushi Rush is based off of DoorDash, but it's just focused on sushi. I don't know why I focused on sushi. I think Costco in my area just got sushi daily delivered. So maybe that's why I was thinking about it. Excuse me. But it's going to allow us to pick different types of sushi, different types of restaurants that serve that different types of sushi. And then we're going to be able to get that delivered to us. Again, the demo is not that fully featured. I wish it was, but you're going to see, we're going to add some features. We're going to add some workflows while we're here on this call. Okay. So you see my opening page. This is what I've created here. Does look a little bit like DoorDash. Then the styling, that's because I asked it to do that. If you had, again, I didn't implement a design system, but you could easily implement a design system in here in the code base. You can also, with Fusion, you can have like side repos. So if you had your design system that lived in a side repo, you can actually attach it and it will also clone it and use that as a reference. So you can ask it for custom components and custom things like that. So right now I click order now and you'll see I've got restaurants near me, 0 restaurants available. So the way the data is structured now is all example data, but it knows I don't live in San Francisco. For some reason, when I built this out, all the restaurants it gave me were in San Francisco. So they're quite a bit of ways away from me. But if I scroll down further, I can even click some of these and I can see, okay, so cool. So these restaurants have these bento boxes here. If I click one of them, I can take a look and I can see. Now I built all this using Fusion. You can see it's pretty basic right now. So let's go ahead. I noticed an issue earlier that I don't think, if I go to map here, you can see I have a map. It's able to tell where I'm at. If I scroll down, you'll notice though, it's really frustrating, right? That thing right there, that may not be something a user would notice, or actually, sorry, that may be something a user would absolutely notice, but that may not be something a user would tell us about because maybe they think it's something with their machine. Maybe they think it's just annoying. And you notice that kind of scroll behavior is just really weird. It may be something that would make it in a backlog. It may not. So I want to just take care of that because that's not the experience I want my users to have. So let me go ahead and one of the cool things about Fusion is you can actually, in addition to interacting with LLMs, I can click this design tab here, and then I can actually go in layer by layer and figure out what is this, and I can target it. So instead of saying, hey, find the map and do this, which you can easily do, I can actually, you can see, I can hover over very specific items. So I'm going to hover over this one, and it's got this selected element. If I want to dig into kind of what that is, it's like this map view component here. So I'm going to give it a prompt here. And just for the sake of time, I'm going to enter that prompt, just copy paste. So when a user scrolls down the page, this component should not overlay the category filters, which are these things, or the nav header, which is these things. Now, again, if you wanted to get very specific, you can go into layers tab and you can figure out, okay, the category section, Sushi Rush header, it names each one of these things something else, but I'm just being a little more generic. You can also change, if you have a specific model that you like, you can change that. By default, this is using Sonnet because I'm on a paid plan, but you can use GPT-5. There's other models that we have, but I'm gonna go ahead and just send that message. And then what it's doing is it's taking that selected element, this right here, and it's going to do exactly what I said. So you can see it's thinking, it's going through and examining that component to decide what it needs to do. It finds a Z index. Now, again, I have been a developer for a long time. I know some of these things. You don't have to be. You don't have to know what a Z index is. You don't have to know all those things. You can literally just, oh, it just works now. You can go test the experience of it. One other thing I do want to say as this is loading up is that this is a very e-commerce demo. It's a very like a demo around one specific product, but these principles and these kind of things are applicable across a wide range of products. So it doesn't just have to be e-commerce. It doesn't just have to be this demo or this specific product. I hope that we want you to take these kind of like principles and like these kinds of like demos and actually use them where you are. So now I click that map. I can go down here and you can see it actually does. Well, it's just slow, but it does scroll now. It looks good. We fixed that problem. It took us a couple of minutes. It'll tell us fixed. If you want specifics, I've added this relative Z index to this. Now, what's really cool then, I can go in and I can actually, since it's connected to my repo, I can create a pull request. If you need to know or you want to know what code was actually changed, you do have the ability for you to open this up and you can look and you can click this and you see how it's different colors and it tells me that something got changed in here. I can go into restaurant view and I can see, okay, so it added Z index 200 to this. So I get here, and one thing we need to figure out is where do I go from here? But yeah, but it would be in this file. Something changed here. If I go to diff, show diff view for modify files, here we go. Boom. So this is what it was, and this is what it got changed to. So again, if you're interested in doing this before you ever send a PR, you can go and see this diff view. But what's really cool is that you notice it's a very small targeted change. So I asked for this one specific thing. It went through the entire code base of this application and made this very targeted change. It didn't make a large change. It didn't add new files. It didn't add. Now you can also be specific. You can ask for it to, I'll show you some other examples of what you can also do besides just prompting. But let's exit that diff and let's just send a PR. Okay, so it's sending this PR now. It's going to open it up in my repo. Right now, it's going to tell you exactly what it is. So as you see, it just changed from builder to fixed map view Z index. So this is a very descriptive title. I didn't have to add that, but it helps my developers know what changed. It's got the specific code changes here. You can also open up a preview link if you want to. So if I click that, it'll be able to spin this up. Click don't show it. Let's see that. Now you can see my application is actually running. So if I'm going to click order now and then go to map, I should be able to scroll down and you can see that scroll works exactly like I expected it to. So we just fixed an issue that may have been a friction point for our users that they may not have told us about. And we fixed it in 5 minutes. And so now it just is up to our developers to review that and move on. If I want to keep going on, let's see. So that's one branch. Let's go back. I want to create a new branch. A really good practice is every feature or thing you're developing to create a new branch. I can't tell you how many branches I actually have on our builder repo that are projects I've either thought about starting or have just started prototyping and didn't finish that I need to go back and clean up. But there are a lot out there. So we're going to create a new branch, and I want to show you a more specific targeted or more specific change that would be maybe like a ticket in our backlog. It's taking a second to spin up. There we go. Okay. Yeah, I noticed some question about Figma import. We do Figma importing as well as other importing as well. We actually have like where you can actually copy things now. That's part of what, when I went to DoorDash, part of what I was taking a look at was I was able to go into here and I was able to copy layout, and I can copy any part of this layout that I want to. Click that. It's going to copy it. It's going to do a bunch of different sizes. And then this isn't related to what I'm about to do, but then you would just paste that in. And then once you paste it in, you can say, implement this feature in the new section. You can tell it exactly where to go. Same thing for Figma imports. You just paste it in and it'll do what you ask. Yeah, so if I go to my order now, if I scroll down, let's see. One thing you might notice on this page is there's no way for an actual restaurant to engage with Sushi Rush, right? Like at this point, there are a set number of restaurants, but what we want to do is we want to open up the doors to more restaurants, because we know that if we have more restaurants, we'll have more customers, because more restaurants means more locations, means more customers. And what we want to do is on this page, we want to implement a way for users, for restaurant owners to contact us to get information. Let me go ahead and give an example. Let's see. I'm going to copy in our user story and copy in our acceptance criteria and our definition of done. You might have a lot of different ways to write PRDs, and that's great. Everybody does. So whatever way works for you. I find that LLMs are very responsive or receptive. What's the word? Responsive to user stories. They're really good with them. So you can say, as a restaurant owner, I want to submit my contact information on the Sushi Roll order page so that I can be considered for featuring on the Sushi Roll app and potentially reach more customers. Acceptance criteria are also good. You got the given, when, then structure. These kinds of structures are really good for LLMs. They do respond to them well. I find good results with them. It's less abstract, and it's just they're much more able to process through these kinds of things. I've got a definition of done. I already know that the contact form is going to be responsive and accessible, but I'll tell it that anyways, because it might do some extra things for accessibility. I want the form validation to prevent incomplete submissions, and I want it to forward that data to me, to my email address. Right now, this is not hooked up to backend. It's not hooked up to actual data. You can do that. I'll show you a way to do that in just a second once we get off this. But then I just did a little bit extra here by asking our form to follow brand guidelines. Again, excuse me, we don't need to do that. It will do it anyways, but I'm just being a little bit like over the top prescriptive, and that's not altogether a bad thing. So let's go ahead and just enter this in and see what happens. Talking about APIs, talking about backend data, you can ask in the chat to connect to certain APIs. If you have API routes that are in your code base, it will follow those conventions. If you have external APIs, you can ask it to connect to that. You can ask it to create environment variables for you, an environment, and those kinds of things, protected tokens. It'll integrate with anything that you have. You don't have to worry about the back end. I built an app completely using Builder with Supabase as my back end, and I did it all from scratch, and it worked really well. But you can go with whatever solution you have. I know that's a pretty small use case for me, just building as a hobbyist, but you might have much more complicated auth. We work with all sorts of companies across all levels. We will integrate with your backend. So I can just say that, and your APIs. So it's actually creating an API endpoint. You can see that to handle that form submission for me. Again, this is a pretty greenfield project. It has a little less to go off of than it would in your project with your APIs. So you can see that it's just working away. At this point, maybe you'd go get a soda or something, or a coffee. Got mine right here all the time. The new vibe coding world, right? You just type something in and you go hang out and do something for 10 minutes and come back. Or maybe you just go answer an email. I don't know. All right, it's working through a list of things it's trying to do. Let's see if I can see it already at the bottom. Sneak peek. Yes. So now I was really vague in one sense, right? Like I gave it a PRD. I told it what I wanted, gave it good acceptance criteria, and it did that. In another sense, like this may not be what we want the final product to look like, right? Like we might be like, having this giant form at the bottom of this page is really counterproductive. We actually want a CTA that then goes to this. But what's really great is within a few minutes, I have a prototype now. Within a few minutes, I didn't have, again, that process of where I had that PRD that sat around in a backlog, maybe even, because again, this feature may or may not have gotten developed. Then we went through design process, then we went through development process, then we went through that all to go, you know what, maybe this isn't the best use of this space. You can see hey, I got this successfully implemented. I got all this ready for you. It matches your existing brand styling. It actually decided to do some orange accent colors, which is okay. But again, now what I can do is I can now share this. I can invite people to the space if I want to help them work on it with me, or I can just send them a preview URL. Maybe you're talking to a customer and they were really wanting this feature. You can send them this, and you can say, hey, go to the bottom of this, or hey, just go on this order page. Tell me what you think about this. Does this meet what you're looking for? How would we change this? I had just to give you an actual practical example of this, I had a customer recently that mentioned some issues with our commenting system within Builder. And so I had heard that before from others. And so I'd actually been prototyping a solution for them. And so when the customer mentioned that on a call, I was like, oh, by the way, hey, let me show you this comment section that I've actually been working on and let me get your feedback on it. And so I was able to walk through it with them and got some really great feedback right then and there. And the other great part of it was not only did I get that immediate feedback on something that kind of had been sitting off to the side, but then the customer knew that I cared about the things they cared about and that we were actually doing something about it. Not only as a PM, again, not only are you're building products for customers, but you're also making your business and your company look really good in the eyes of your customers because you're showing that these things are getting taken care of. They're getting fixed. So again, you've got this prototype, you can send this to people, you can share it with them. They might decide, oh, I don't really like this. I want a CTA that goes to this other thing. And then you can just iterate on it over and over. This doesn't have to be done by any means, but you can see that this was a couple of minutes. Again, you can put it up in a PR if you want to. You don't have to. Even then, what's really cool about Fusion is you can now go back, in addition to having a preview URL, if you did have other people in the space, you can actually go back and you'll see that I have this, it's called Vortex Studio, probably simply because it hasn't been a PR. If it was a PR, you see that it changed the title here to something more like understandable. So in this sense, it hasn't actually done that, but you can spin this back up anytime you want to. You can always come back to it, play around with it, click that again, go to the bottom. And then what you can also do is you can either make it a shared branch, which all my branches are shared by default, or you can make it a private branch. So there are, again, lots of ideas I have that I'm always working on, and I don't want to clutter up our team's kind of space. So until I'm ready to share those things, I generally just make them private for myself. Excuse me. Again, another way to really share, to bring your team in. A lot of times I'll bring in, at this point, I'll bring in my designer and I'll say, hey, I feel like I'm not, the design is not my thing. I'm weak on it. I know that. I wish I was better, but I will bring in our designer who that's what he does. He's really good at it. And I'll say, hey, this doesn't feel like what I want. Help me get into a spot that's better. And that's where we're sharing that. We're having that interaction in the actual product. And when it's ready, we ship it. He also ships a lot of really good fixes directly in PRs, which is really cool. That's another example of kind of how that is working its way into our workflows. Let's see. Got a couple other little things to demo here. Okay, I have a kind of a bigger demo. Remember I talked about workflows. So I'm going to try something on the call live here to see where we can get to. So one idea we had was right now on this homepage, you have to click order now. And that's inefficient for new users because it's yet another click that they have to do. So what we actually want to do is we want to, instead of having them click order now and then go and select a restaurant and do all this stuff, we want them to be able to enter their address right there on the homepage. When they click a button next to their address, we want that to automatically pre-populate the address on the order page and to pre-select restaurants that are in their area. Again, removing all the friction from their workflow and just taking them right to the place they want to go. That's what I'm about to do with Fusion. I have a PRD written for it. We've done the research. We know that this will help increase, again, demos, but this will help increase the rate of people selecting restaurants by 20% or whatever it is, and will decrease the rate of people leaving the site and all those good things that you want to do. What's really cool too in this is, again, I talked about hooking up to backend APIs, hooking up to those things. If your company uses things like Amplitude or they use other tracking things, because it has the context of your code base, you can actually just go back and you can ask it to add a new tracking event, and it will do that. It finds the context of all the other tracking events that you've got in there, and it will add it just like you do, just like you already have in there. And what's great about that is now you don't have to wait on developers to add new tracking events for you. And developers don't have to be bogged down by adding new tracking events and things like that for PMs and for others. Now, obviously, you want to use that, I think, sparingly. You don't want to just have a billion tracking events across everything because that has other ramifications. But it does increase your ability to get it done, to get it out there, and to get it done in a way that makes sense to you. I don't know about you, but I've actually asked people for tracking events before. I've been very specific about it. And then when it got implemented, it was not at all the thing I asked for, and then I had to go find it. And that can be really frustrating because then you've got to go back and adjust either the product that you're using to track, or you got to adjust the code and re-engage the developer, which can be tough sometimes. There's that. And then there's also feature flags. So we use feature flags a lot. Maybe you do too in your product. What's really great about this is you can ask it to add the feature flag for you, and it'll do that because, again, it has the context of your code base. It knows the ways feature flags have been implemented, and it will add the feature flag just the same way you do. And then what's really cool is you can actually ask it to test feature flags for you. Maybe first, let me show you before I go into that like larger demo. A lot of times, just to give another kind of side note here about something you could do as a PM, you have inherited a product. Most of us didn't come into the product's greenfield like this, like I have with this app. You came into a product that's already developed. It's got a lot, the code base is very large. It has a lot of history to it. And you might not know why stuff works the way it does. What's really cool with Fusion is you can actually ask it, tell me about location services and what map functionality is supported. Now, again, maybe you want to learn about something else. I know I've had things where, for instance, like with the commenting I was talking about earlier, I've had questions about how is our commenting implemented? What does the API look like? All those things. I can ask it that, and I'll say something usually explicit. Do not make any changes. And it'll look through the code base and it'll answer the question for me. That's really all I'm doing is I'm asking an informational question about this code base. Again, that can be going back to feature flags. We will have feature flags that I can ask a dev, or I can ask somebody else what that is. I can also ask the code base what that is and see how it works. I can ask if you have things that are not documented that you want documented, you can actually ask it for documentation. It does a really good job of that. Obviously, you need to go back and double check that. If you've worked with LLMs for any amount of time, you know that they like to tell you what you want to hear or what they think you want to hear because that's what their job is. And so always go back and double check. If you're getting documentation about an API, go back and check that works by actually using the code examples that it gives you. But it does help, one, increase your knowledge about the product that you're working with. And also two, it does increase your ability to like write rapid documentation to get stuff into the hands of users that may have taken you longer before. Location services. So you can see I've got this native navigator API. I've got this fallback location. So this would be important to know because coming into this product, I might not know that it has a fallback location in San Francisco if the geolocation fails. So that's nice to know. You may have run into an error in the product that was like, oh, every time this can't happen, it goes to San Francisco. Why is that the case? And so you can just quickly, you can deduce without having to go through a bunch of different channels that, oh, that's the fallback location. That's how it works. And so you can see it actually went through and did that. It didn't make any changes. There's no PR to send, like nothing got changed. Anyways, that's just really cool. So now let's go ahead and let's integrate this really large user workflow thing and let's see what happens. I don't know what's going to happen. I'll be honest with you. If it completely blows up, I'm sorry. Let's see. Yeah, here we go. So I'm just copying my PRD real quick. Yeah, let's see. It shouldn't be too much context, but it's kind of large. Okay. So we got the streamlined address entry homepage integration PRD. We want to redesign homepage experience that eliminates friction for new users by enabling direct address entry on the homepage, bypassing the traditional order now flow and immediately taking users to relevant restaurants in their area. We want to reduce user drop-off by eliminating unnecessary navigation and providing immediate value through this restaurant discovery directly from the homepage. So we got our current flow, we got our proposed streamlined flow where the user enters the address directly on the homepage. They click a button, they immediately see restaurants with address pre-filled, on the order page. We're going to reduce this click from 3 to 1, basically, and then on and on. So it just changed the formatting, which is frustrating, but you get the point. So it's just a really big PRD, has a bunch of acceptance criteria in it, which is here. So clear messaging for addresses outside the delivery zone, on and on. I want to go ahead and send that. And let's see what happens. In the meantime, there might be some questions. Let's see. Yeah, let's see. I don't know where they start. Let's go way back. Yeah. If you're copying from existing websites, is that not a legal issue with copying IP? Just asking. That's a great question. I'm not a legal expert. I will say that, but I would definitely say you should not just go grab a website and make it look exactly like the other website. It's also hard to argue that reds and whites and blacks are 100% owned by somebody. Just use discretion there, I would say. Again, this is a demo for demo purposes. So I'm not out there making hundreds of thousands of dollars on this one. So here we go. Let's see what it did. Location services currently supported, map functionality currently supported. Okay. Oh, go back. Toggle between listing, missing for your PRD goals. Okay. No homepage address input. Okay. No header address display. Manual location only. Page-based flow. Still uses order now. Your existing location map infrastructure. Okay. So what happened? It decided that it wasn't going to do it. Let me test this out and see. I might need to be a little more specific in my PRD. Okay. It didn't do anything. Why did it not do anything? Okay. Let me try this again. Let me click the new chat. Let me click this real quick. Paste this back in. Go back. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Let me just try this one more time. If it gives me a problem, then I'll probably go back and edit the PRD a little bit to just be maybe a little bit smaller. Maybe I'm asking for too much. Like I said, the longer they get, the less the results. Like they're not always greatest results if you have more information. Just kind of what I found. That's usually, I don't usually try to one shot things, and a lot of people love that. Oh, I one shotted this thing. I tend to like to do stuff in like smaller, like granular increments. So taking this on as like multi-step, it might be better to take it on in multiple prompts. So we'll see. It does have a to-do list now, which I feel like it's doing something it wasn't doing before. So let's see how far it gets. Back to questions. Okay. Let's see. We got a Q&A tab. Here we go. Okay. Yeah. The merge question. Let's see. Yeah, there's a question about how do you take care of merge issues if your branch gets behind since you've been experimenting and the code base has moved on further. One, that's why I like to do branch to branch or make sure I'm on a separate branch. If you do have other people working on that branch, you can do a couple of different things. You can actually click here and you'll see like sync from GitHub. So you'll be able to sync that in, and then you can handle merge conflicts or things like that if they come up. But this will always make sure that it's synced from your main and that you have the latest code at all times. Another one here, branches. Are branches available in the Pro plan or only Enterprise? Branches are available on, that's a good question, actually. I think they're available on, I don't know the answer to that question. I'm using an Enterprise one, so this one might be, that's why it might be a little bit, so that's where I've used Pro as well, and I have noticed on Pro that didn't have the same branch structure, so I'm not sure on that one. We have a couple people that are in the chat that can also answer that one though. Let's see. Okay, so we got our delivery address input here. All right. You can see it's doing a lot. It's got improved the validation, error handling. Oh, and then it completed everything. So now it's going to go back and make sure that everything runs like it's supposed to. Oh, and this is really a nice little feature here. At some point, it's going to ask you, do you want me to keep going? I've actually been doing this for a while, and you can kind of go, yeah, I know that it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. So as a result of that, I'm going to go ahead and let it continue. If maybe you run into a situation where it's just like hitting a cycle and it's just like doing the same thing over and over again, or nothing's actually changing, at that point, I would say, yeah, you need to just stop and let me go back and maybe be clear in my instructions or do something like that. Okay, so you can see this is now fully implemented. It added a homepage address input field with an autocomplete in the hero section. So I'm gonna go ahead and enter an address and let's see if it actually works. It's a big question. I'm gonna enter this address in. Let's see if it does autocomplete. No, it says it did autocomplete, but it didn't do that. So that's one thing that we'd have to go back and fix. So if I go back and just enter this in, let's see, click that, delivering, it's supposed to show restaurants in my area. It did confirm that, but it didn't update my location, possibly because this is actually based off of my actual current location. And then this didn't get fixed. That's where I would want it to actually, okay. So then I've noticed that, okay, on the order page, this element is not actually reflecting my address here. So then I'll go into design. Let me be, again, very specific about this. And I'm going to say this input. Let me make sure I got the input here. That's the text box. I don't want that. I want the actual, yeah. I want the actual like element here, the top level element. Let me go here. Okay. This input should entered by a user. Let's see if it'll actually work. If not, we're running up against time. This is my workflow. I hope that this demo has been helpful to you. We'll take some time for Q&A. Let me finish this up and then we'll devote the last maybe 10 minutes to some Q&A. Cool. Again, we can skip this because I don't really need it to do that. I don't need it to do a type check. It can do that. Technically, when we run it in our PR, generally that would run then and make sure everything passes. So we don't need to worry about that right now. So it's going to auto populate for this, but it's user enters address on the home page. So let's do this. Navigates the order page, they detect it, and then that automatically populates the address. So the user can still search and edit directly into header. So let's go ahead and try to go back here, see if it works like it says it is supposed to work. Yeah, but it did not do that right now. We go to my map. No, go to list, update location. So yeah, so I'd still have to work with this a little bit. Oh, okay. So it actually did populate, but it populated unfortunately in the search bar here, which is not what I wanted it to do, but I wanted it to actually populate here. So again, you have to work with this a little bit, but you see, you can implement these things pretty quickly. And then it is auto searching though. So if you noticed, once I get to, yeah, so there's doing something here. So I'd have to play around with it a little bit more to get it to work. Let me see if I can just delete this quick. Yeah, there's something going on with the actual functionality of this, but that's how you would implement it. Let me take a few minutes for questions. Let me just go back here into this and Q&A. Take a look at all of our questions here. Okay. Last question first. Yes, the recording will be made available after this. There's also a link to the Builder Labs PM prototyping repo in case you wanted to play around with this on your own. You can feel free to, it's public, so you can feel free to connect this to a project, play around with it all you want to, and make your own private branches. If you push PRs, chances are I won't merge them. So if you want to fork it, that's also fine. You can do that. But you've seen how to do this. One of the really cool things I didn't mention actually here, because Fusion has so much stuff, seriously, you can actually, once you make a PR with Fusion, it has this builder bot integration here. If there was like a failing test or there was a failing type check, like you saw earlier, and you just feel like, I don't even know what that is. I don't really know what to do with that. You can tag BuilderBot and you can ask it to fix it for you. So you can say, hey, BuilderBot, I noticed some failing tests. What's the reason for that? You can say, BuilderBot, fix this type error that came up. You can ask it even things like, if you said, oh, I actually want to add an additional thing here, you can ask BuilderBot to do that. What it'll do is actually, it'll take that, it'll run that prompt it'll run a prompt that it generates against the branch in Fusion. So you could, when you do that, it'll say, check on the progress here, and then you can go back and look at it. It's actually really a cool little integration. We use it all the time once you get into the PRs. It's also good for developers because sometimes as a PM or a designer or somebody else making a PR, you may have made a change that you didn't mean to, or may have made a change that was like too large. A lot of times the developers will go back in and say, oh, BuilderBot, make sure you use this icon set, or make sure you use this specific NPM package and not this one, or make sure it shouldn't be a use effect, it should be a this. So they understand those things, and they're also using the LLM to actually build it according to our engineering specs, which is really helpful. Other questions? Let's see. Oh, there you go. So Joe answered the question about branches. Thank you for that. A design mode helps. I didn't show that a whole lot, did I? Let me go back here. If you go into design mode, one thing I did notice earlier is this kind of annoying is this to me is just a little bit annoying. So you can go into design mode and you can either, we'll just go ahead and select this whole thing. And then I want to, you see that the style thing pops up here. So you can do things like align it. So this one, I want to align it to right, and then I can move it over immediately. I can then also say, okay, it needs to be over a little bit more. I can edit the padding pretty quickly. I can change visibility. If you want to hide something on desktop or mobile, you can do all sorts of things stylistically here with it. You can even change this. So you don't have to use an LLM. So you can say how to order. And so you change that and you change this, and then we just apply the visual changes. And what it does is it takes those changes that it detects, it puts them again in the LLM, and then applies those directly. So you don't necessarily just have to prompt and ask. Same thing. Yep. So you see add styling center, change the text. And that's done now. So then I would send the PR and it would be done. The design tab is really helpful in addition to doing that kind of stuff. Like I said, you can do things like you can insert specific blocks that you have. You might have custom components. You can add that are in Builder. If you've ever used Builder before, you know how to, you've probably seen how to do Builder custom components. You can look at the different layers. So I might want to dive in and see the structure of this whole thing. There might be elements that are hidden. Like it looks like there might be a toast that's here that's hidden that it put in for me that I didn't know about. So yeah, that's how you use the design tab. It's actually really cool. Yeah, I know we're right up against time. I want to say again, thank you so much for joining. If you want to get started, you can create a free account on Builder.io. You don't have to, you can just get in there, test it around, play around with it, see how it is. You get so many daily credits if you're a free user, so many monthly credits if you're a free user, but it's really easy to sign up. Just want to say again, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it. And hopefully we'll see you next time.